Hi, good night, everyone. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe, and I am here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments right now so that I may answer your questions. So I want to formally introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, I'm U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe, and I help clients to get their green cards and status in the United States by any legal means necessary. And I also come on every day and every night to answer your U.S. immigration related questions. So you can go ahead and put your questions in the comments right now so that I may answer your questions. You can learn more about me and the law firm by going to the link in my bio where it will take you to the website and you will see the contact information. There is a scheduling coordinator who is available up until 11 p.m. tonight to take your call and schedule a consultation. However, keep in mind that I'm here right now to answer your immigration related questions, and it doesn't have to necessarily be related to the topic that I'm going to be talking about. It can be anything that's immigration related. And today I'm going to touch on the process. So the process of applying for the green card, both the adjustment of status process and consular processing. I'm going to talk about the difference. Consular processing is when you are outside, your relative is outside of the United States, and they're applying for an immigrant visa to come into the United States. And then adjustment of status is when your relative is here and they are applying for the green card while being here. So Marquez, I am in Boca Raton, Florida. Keep in mind, I represent clients all over the country and the world. So I'm not limited by borders. So even though I am based in Florida, I'm not limited by borders. I work with USCIS offices all across the country, and to file your applications, it has to be filed at USCIS offices all around the country. And thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate that share. And also U.S. embassies and immigration courts around the country. So no matter where you are, as long as you have a U.S. immigration issue, I can help you. So go ahead, call if you need to, schedule a consultation, or go ahead and drop your questions in the comments, because that's why I'm here. That's why I come on every night with very few exceptions to answer your questions here. I do provide you general information, and if necessary, you need personal legal advice, here is a good start. You ask your question, and if it's not a simple answer, you can definitely call and schedule that consultation. So in the meantime, while your questions come in, I am going to go ahead and talk about the two processes, because a lot of individuals think that but if they are in the United States, no matter what their status is, they can go through the adjustment of status process, and that is false. I want to go ahead and talk about who qualifies for adjustment of status, because only specific individuals can apply for the green card while staying in the United States and get a green card in the process. So it's going to be individuals who can maintain legal status in the United States. So they're here and they have status. So they're, say, a student, or they're already on an temporary employment-based visa. And now they are applying for the green card and they want to go from the temporary visa to permanent residence. And they can do that as long as they can maintain their status for the entire duration of the process. That's the first group that can qualify for adjustment of status. The other is if you're the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen and you came into the country, even if you overstayed. I have been a resident for the past 10 years, and in September of last year, I submitted my N-400. So Marquez, Vicky, in some cases, the citizenship applications are taking, it's taking an average of 6 months, but it could take longer. You're not alone. There are some individuals who are, going through long processing times. My average time is about 6 months, but keep in mind that my cases, they're not all going to be the same, and it's definitely not going to indicate that you should be that. But it depends on where you are, which service center is processing your case. You can check the service center and see what their processing times are. And you can also check your status to make sure that they haven't sent a request for evidence or that you are receiving all your correspondence. How long do you think NVC will review your filing before issuing a date? So it could take months. Right now they're backlogged, they're trying to catch up. So I've seen it as little as 3 months, and I've seen it as long as a year to get an interview. Now, a lot of the times too, working with the National Visa Center is that sometimes you're back and forth. So you may submit the documents, it may not pass their sniff test, and they want you to submit additional documentation, and that in itself can take months. So you want to make sure that you comply, you follow all the instructions, you comply with submitting the right documentation, and that could make it a smoother, easier process and a faster process, because because for each time that you submit documents, it takes them about 4 weeks just to review the document to say, okay, it's good. And they won't schedule the interview until they're satisfied that you submitted all that they have requested. So it really depends, but make sure you submit everything they want. My husband's visa was approved in 2015, and nothing since then is that normal. So it depends. I don't know if this is the immigrant visa. So you said visa was approved. I'm not sure if that's the immigrant visa. I don't know where you are in the stage. So if the immigrant visa was approved, then your spouse should have gotten a stamp in his passport if he's outside of the country, and he'd be able to travel to the United States shortly thereafter. So if it was the petition that was approved but nothing since, and you are a green card holder, then that you may be outside of normal processing times. And if so, you would need to submit an inquiry to the National Visa Center. Also, keep in mind that if it is at the National Visa Center, you want to make sure that you keep in touch with them and you provide all the documentation, because if you go an entire year without communicating with them after they've requested documents, they could close your case. So you want to first of all submit an inquiry to the National Visa Center to make sure that your case is still on track. They also give you a portal. If it's at the National Visa Center, log into the portal and see if the case is still open and everything is still good to go. Monat, good evening. And Jody, if you do need legal advice, you can go ahead, schedule a consultation by calling 561-405-4889, and we can get more in detail about what's going on in the case, where you are in the case, where is it being processed, what type of visa are we talking about. Jamie Grow, where am I located? I'm in Boca Raton, Florida. However, keep in mind that I represent clients all over the country and the world, so I'm not limited by borders. If you have an immigration issue, you can call, schedule a consultation. K9 Kelsey, thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it. I am in Indiana. So if you're in Indiana, I can still assist you. So Monat 24, my case is transferred to Potomac. So sometimes they do that, especially if one service center is inundated with cases. They're trying to alleviate the backlog. They'll move it. So as long as you know where it is, then that's a good thing. You can also check on the processing times at the Potomac Center to see how long you should be expecting your case to go for. So keep your questions coming, because that's why I'm here. I'm here to answer your U.S. immigration related questions. So put those questions in the comments right now. While your questions continue to come in, I am going to talk about the process in general. How does this process look look and who qualifies for which process. So there are two processes I'm going to talk about, and both of them lead to the green card. The first is adjustment of status in the United States. Adjustment of status in the United States can come in the form of an employment based green card, or it can come as family based or humanitarian, even diversity lottery. How can my husband speed up my case? So Monat 24, there are ways to expedite the case, but keep in mind that you have to make sure that you do have the right evidence, and it usually has to be a compelling reason. Usually has to be something urgent, a humanitarian need, in order to speed up the case. My visa expired and I have a girlfriend who is a citizen. So now girlfriends would not be able to apply for you to get status. They will need to be your spouse. Especially if you are overstayed your visa and you're in the United States. That person that can assist you would have to be your U.S. citizen spouse. Yes, how much is a consult? I'm a U.S. citizen and he's from Honduras. So Jody, 76 mix. But the consultation fee is $150 for up to an hour. Now, in that time, we can get into detail about what happened, determine where the case is, and I can advise from there. You can call right now. There's a scheduling coordinator who's available who can take your call and schedule the consultation tonight. So if you do have the time and you want to do that, you can do that. Yes, we're getting married. How do we go about it? So now if you qualify in every other way, now keep in mind that if you overstayed your visitor's visa and you got married to your girlfriend who is a U.S. citizen, and you don't have any other disqualifying issues in your case, so you don't have any criminal issues or any other immigration violations, then it's possible you could go ahead and adjust status. The first is to submit all the relevant forms. Now, I don't get into specific forms here just because I don't want anybody on my account to go and fill out forms and they end up not qualifying for it. Usually to get into the forms and details, I have to first understand that you qualify. But what I'll tell you is when you're applying for adjustment of status through a U.S. citizen spouse, you will submit an adjustment of status application, a petition, a work permit, and even a travel document application. Those will be submitted. You'll, in a few months, so 4 to 5 months right now, you'll get the biometrics appointment, that's fingerprinting. Then you'll get the work permit, all being well, and you qualify. And then you'll wait for the final interview to come up. And once it does, you attend with your spouse, your U.S. citizen spouse. Very important. The most important aspects of this process, the adjustment of status process. And it's good that I'm talking about it because this is the exact topic I'm talking about. The most important parts are one, preparation of the application. Can't stress that enough. Once you prepare a very good application, it tends to make the rest of the process a smoother process. And with a smoother process, you have a shorter process. So preparation is key, and that's where legal advice is essential. Sit down with an attorney. I can't stress that enough. That way you avoid mistakes. Don't submit an incomplete application and then expect your application to go smoothly. That has led to denials. It has led to requests for more evidence, which leads to delays. So make sure that you get legal advice and get representation to get it right. How long do I have to wait to remarry after a divorce from a previous petitioner? No biometrics. So I'm not sure where you are, if you did receive if you did receive your green card through the marriage. If you received your green card through the marriage and you just want to move forward after the divorce, there's no time limit. Keep in mind though, if you're remarrying and you're also going to petition, that can bring more scrutiny if you get married right after right after you get the green card, you divorce and then remarry. So it all depends on the timing, where you are in the process, what's going on with your what's your immigration status. So that's where it's important to get legal advice, because it can be a problem just based on the circumstances. Saint Tonya, thanks for the Saint Tonya, thank you for the follow. How long does it take for a spouse to get through from a green card holder right now? KRC, I'm glad you asked that, because right now there's no immigrant visa number, and that means there's no wait list for spouses of green card holders to get to go through the process. And so right now it's taking and KRC 2430, actually 15 months is not necessarily, that's a short time. That's really not the case right now just because of the backlog, but you could be looking at 18 months to 24 months through a green card holder spouse right now. So keep those questions coming because I am here. So Indy, no green card was given. So now one thing you have to be concerned about, Indy, is if you got the divorce, then you remarried right after, and then you applied again, or now if you submitted an application but it didn't actually go through and you got a divorce, that can lead to scrutiny. It can look as if you're trying to shop around for a spouse to just get the green card. However, if you were married, you got divorced and nothing came out of that marriage, so you didn't even apply, then you remarry, that may not be an issue here. Good morning, dear. Sorry to ask again. Okay, but that is not a U.S. immigration related question. That's a personal question. And so I remember the rule here is any U.S. immigration related questions. Hello, I'm wondering what happens after the biometrics appointment. So it's usually a waiting game. You just have to wait to see, after the biometrics, it's usually the work permit if you applied for the work permit or you qualify for the work permit. So that's usually what you'll have to wait for next, if you applied for it or if you qualify for it. And if you qualify for it. How long does it take for a spouse to get through? So I did answer that. So keep your questions coming. These are awesome questions so far. And that's exactly why I'm here, to answer those immigration questions that you have. So go ahead and put those questions in the comments right now. I'm talking about applying for the green card through adjustment of status. Who qualifies? What does that process look like? And also through consular processing, if your relative is outside of the United States, or if you're even applying for an employment-based green card, but you're outside of the United States. How does one qualify for the work permit? So if you are applying for a type of immigration benefit that allows you to apply for a work permit at the same time, that's how you're going to qualify. So for example, through the adjustment of status process, you can get a work permit while you wait for the process to go through. Same with asylum, you can get a work permit while you wait for the process to go through. How long would it take if my husband does qualify? I'm petitioning him and also he was detained. So in that case, it's a complex process. And if he was detained, that means he may be going through removal proceedings. And so you could be looking at a much longer time just because the immigration courts are overwhelmed. And so get legal advice, get legal representation, because that is a more complex process. And you're likely, there are two ways to approach this. Either request, if you're a citizen, request the adjustment of status before the judge. Or so at times what they'll do is they will put the proceedings on hold and go through, allow the USCIS process to go through. And if it goes through the USCIS process, you could be looking at the regular processing time. And then, of course, add the proceedings to that. Immigration is such a headache and stress, but having a good support team, you'll be okay. Chubby Cinderella, thanks for the positive word, and that is right. Exactly, and having good legal representation is also essential when you're dealing with that. So is everything open back for appointments? So No, it depends on where you're talking about, because some embassies are still closed up, some are functioning. It depends on where you are. What I would suggest is go to the embassy's website in your country, the official website, and see if they are disclosing to the public what is open, what are their procedures to move forward with your case. Because while some things are continuing to be processed, other aspects have been closed, other visas have been closed for now because of the COVID situation. So keep those questions coming. Okay, so but he was released under a bond. So Magali, you'll definitely have to get a consultation, because there are different ways to approach it. It is a complex issue. And so how to approach it, the strategy behind it really depends on your personal circumstances. So about us, if you're already in the country. So Chubby Cinderella, the immigration never stopped in the country. Things are open and functioning. So it did not stop. Immigration continued. It's just that, yes, there is a backlog, because initially with the lockdown, they did lock down everything. But shortly thereafter, a few months into the pandemic, they opened up. And now they're just trying to catch up on the backlog. So things were still open. Hi there, Emily. It's nice to see you. If your spouse is a citizen, how long does it take for the partner to get through? So right now you're looking at about 18 months is the average time. You could even expect as long as 24 months. If you do get through shorter than that, then it's going to, you want to make sure that, for example, you get the interview in 9 months, because that does happen. If you do get it in 9 months, you want to make sure you attend that interview and you're prepared, because if you're not and the officer has to make further decisions on your case, that can lead to a whole couple of months, if not a whole other year of delays in your case. Do you know any good news for Haiti TPS? So yes, Edwin, we know for sure that there is a new designation for Haitians who are in the United States on or before May 21st, 2021. They just have to publish the instructions, and once they do, then it would be a go to actually file the TPS. But hang tight, because right now they're not going to be deporting any Haitians, right? And now you have the opportunity up until, keep in mind, up until a certain period of time, you're going to have a designated period of time to apply for the TPS. Chubby Cinderella, thanks for using your platform to help others. I'll forward your info to people I know need help. Thank you so much. And your encouragement is keeping me going. So thank you. Is Brazil processing trying to get my girlfriend legal? So with your girlfriend, you wouldn't be able to get your girlfriend legal, Jimmy. It's going to have to be your spouse or your fiance. Now, what you have to do is go to the embassy. I know that the conditions may be a little more severe in Brazil, especially in regards to COVID. And so the embassy may be limiting their appointment. So go to the U.S. Embassy's website in Brazil and see what they're up to right now. See if they're open, if they're accepting applications and so forth. Can you talk about waivers for people who came without a visa as a child? Sally, absolutely. So this is usually called the unlawful presence, provisional unlawful presence waiver, or the I-601A waiver. And I talk about this a lot. If you have a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident spouse or parent who will experience extreme hardships, if you don't get the green card, this could be a way for you to get relief, get forgiveness for crossing the border without permission. I know it's ridiculous that even as a child, you didn't have control over coming through the border without inspection. But unfortunately, they still do require that waiver under certain circumstances. Now, in a case like this, what you usually have to do is you first have to qualify for the green card in some way still. So, for example, if an employer is applying for you or a family member, a qualifying family member is applying for you, then they'll first submit the petition. Once it's approved, you can take the approved a petition, attach it to a prepared waiver, and then submit it and wait in the United States for a decision. Once you get a decision on the waiver, and this is an approval, you will basically know that you can, when the interview is scheduled, so it gets moved to the National Visa Center, the National Visa Center will process your case, and once they get notice of the approved waiver, then what will happen is it will be pushed over when the time is right to the embassy for the interview, and you can buy your ticket and attend the interview. When you attend the interview, as long as you're not disqualified in any other way for the green card, the officer will not use the entry without inspection into the US against you, and you won't have any bars, any 3-year bar or 10-year bar against you. And then all being well, it's approved, you will travel back within about 2 to 3 weeks after you receive the immigrant visa in your passport. So that in a nutshell is the unlawful presence, so provisional unlawful presence waiver. That's the official name for it. Can you say your name again? Can you say your number again? So the number is 561-405-4889. It's also all over my videos, and if you go to the link in my bio, it will take you to the website where there's a contact form, as well as at the phone number to call. There's a scheduling coordinator who's available up until 11 p.m. tonight to take your call and schedule your consultation. So we need biometrics on I-130 based green card. How long does it take after receive the notice? So unfortunately, it's taking a couple of months. Right now, you're looking at an average of 3 to 4 months just to get the biometrics. What about one who has Haiti TPS for more than 10 years? How can they change their status? So if they came into the United, and it all depends where they can adjust status. So I've had TPS clients who they adjust status because they did come in with a visa and they got TPS afterwards, and then they qualified to adjust status in the United States later on, and so they did that. However, the way that you go about getting the green card is really going to depend on how you enter the country. So if you entered with a visa, who is sponsoring you, but you that's going to really determine whether you can adjust status or whether you're going to have to still go through consular processing. Shanoya, I don't see your question. Let me just scroll back quickly to see. Can you retype your question, because I don't see it. I must have missed it. Let me see here. So can you put your question in the Q&A box, Shanoya, because it seems like it didn't come across to me. Ship Kabir, if you have questions, go ahead and put your questions in the comments now. San Sally, you are welcome. So Edwin, I am in Palm Beach County. I'm in Boca Raton. So if you are in or close to the Boca Raton and you want to schedule a consultation in person, feel free. I'll happily meet with you at the office. I also meet with clients in Fort Lauderdale as well, if you're in Broward County. I applied my green card last February. It's been 6 months. I still get it. How long? So if you applied last February, keep in mind there is a backlog, and it's not out of the ordinary not to hear anything. So what you can do is check your case status. Make sure you're receiving correspondence from them. How long does it take till receive interview in marriage-based green card? So you're looking at about 18 months on average to 24 months. Edwin, sounds good. Thanks. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much, Saint Tonya. Thank you for that. And I hope you have a wonderful night as well. And going into the weekend, you look forward to having a great weekend too. And you can always follow me and join me on the live to continue to ask your immigration questions. Now, continue to put your questions here. why not take advantage of a U.S. immigration attorney being here to answer your U.S. immigration related questions? Jay Hines, you're welcome, and thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I really appreciate you coming on and joining me on the live and asking your questions. Go ahead, keep putting your questions in the comments, because that is exactly why I'm here. I'm here to answer your U.S. immigration related questions. So put your questions in the comments right now, and I will go ahead and answer your questions. So I am talking, while your questions come in, I want to let you know that I'm talking about the adjustment of status process, that's applying for the green card while you're in the United States. And then on the other hand, the applying for the green card if you're outside of the United States, or if you have to go outside of the United States through consular processing. So only specific individuals qualify to adjust status in the United States. So Amit, if they live over there with them, I'm not sure. I didn't see the rest of your question. So can you go ahead and retype your question, please? So now if you have current status, and you will have you expect to have current status for the duration of the green card process while you're in the United States, that may qualify you to stay in the U.S. and apply for the green card. Another one is if you are in the United States, and even if you overstayed your visa, but you have an immediate relative, a U.S. citizen, and you're the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. That means you're the spouse of a U.S. citizen, you're the parent of a U.S. citizen who is 21 and up, or you are the son or daughter of a U.S. citizen who is under 21 and unmarried. So you could qualify as long as you came into the country with a visa and you don't have any other disqualifying issues going on. And then there is, if you have to apply for the green card based on mistreatment, it's called the VAWA green card. And if you're being mistreated by a U.S. citizen or green card holder spouse, if you're under 25, a parent, or if you have a citizen son or daughter who's 21 and up, and they're mistreating you, so they're verbally, emotionally, financially, even physically harming you, abusing you, then this could be a path for you to even apply for your own green card, stay in the United States, and adjust status. Now with this, you can actually, even if you enter the country without your papers, you can apply for this and adjust status with this. Even if you came in and you overstayed, you can apply with this. Also, your children who are under 21 and unmarried can also go along with you on this process. So how long it takes for a person to get green card if marry a green card holder while living in the States. Now, if they're living in the States, you want to be careful with that, because if you're out of status, now if you're in status and you expect to maintain your status, then you could adjust status, stay in the United States and apply for the green card. If you're out of status, you'll need to go through the consular process. But if you've overstayed over 180 days, you will have to apply for a waiver that will allow you to leave the country and not face that 3-year bar at minimum. So very important that you get legal advice before starting the process, so you know what you're getting into, you know what you qualify for, you know how to approach this situation, and you get legal representation to help you through the process. I'm here for the first time. I want to know how to apply for my own green card. I married, let's see. I didn't see the rest of your question. Start over 4. But I'm going to wait to see what, now you said you want to know more about applying for your own green card. And I'm not sure if the next thing is, I'm still living in Jamaica, married a U.S. citizen almost 4 years ago. So if you're in Jamaica, that is, if you can apply for this, if the abuse happened while you were, the abuse or mistreatment happened while you were in the United States, or if your U.S. citizen spouse was a military member or a member of the government, an employee of the government. So get legal advice in your case to make sure that you can apply for this on your own, because when you're outside of the country, you may have limited options, but you may have options nevertheless. It just depends on where you lived with your spouse. If you lived with them in the United States and then ended up going back and the abuse happened while you were in the US, then this could definitely be an option for you. But we need to talk more about what happened in the marriage. Whether you're married to a U.S. citizen, are you divorced? If you are divorced, you have less than 2 years. So you have to be divorced for less than 2 years. Step 2, real, thanks for the follow. Got green card from marriage to citizen last year. When can I apply for naturalization? If you continue to maintain your marriage for 3 years, to that U.S. citizen, then you could apply in 2 years and 9 months. But by the time of the interview, you have to show that you have been married for 3 years to your citizen. To your advice, think it's okay to legally marry someone in the U.S. or marry them in the country of birth. It just depends. Now, usually if you're getting married in the country of your birth, that means that you have no option to get married anywhere else. And so it all depends on what your circumstances are. Do you have the flexibility to get married in the US or get married in your country? Can you fly back and forth right now? Do you have a visa to do that? If you do, then you can reserve the right to marry anywhere that you want to. However, keep in mind that if you're already in the United States and you cannot leave, then it's probably going to be, you're going to get married here in the US. I'm here for the first time. I want to know, how long will it take to receive your visa after an EEA interview? So I don't know what the EEA interview is. Can you please clarify that? Can you get back a visa after it was revoked when no reasons were given? If so, how? So it may be possible, it may be difficult. It just depends on why it was revoked. And that's where legal advice is going to come in, because it can get complex. Usually if they revoke it, there's a reason behind it. It may be because they think you are working, that they think you suspect you would overstay, and so they revoked it. However, it can also be related to fraud or misrepresentation or more severe immigration consequences. If someone came here on visa and qualified for TPS, work and pay taxes in the US for over 10 years, can they change their status without getting married? As the law stands right now, Edwin, unfortunately not. And that is what is, Biden had proposed a bill that would have made that possible, but right now it's not going anywhere. And so just keep up to date with me. I'll definitely let you know if something changes. But right now, what you would have to do is continue to renew your TPS. And once you do qualify through some way for the green card, then you can adjust status. What does 2-year EAC mean after renewal through VAWA? So I'm not sure what the 2-year after renewal through VAWA. So if you're talking about renewing your 2-year green card, Shanoya, so you're going from a 2-year green card to a 10-year green card, from conditional to 10-year, and you were mistreated by that U.S. citizen or green card holder spouse, then you would be obtaining it through VAWA, the renewal through VAWA. So that may be what you're referring to, but if not, please go ahead and clarify. Is there a problem with married a person twice your age? So as long as it's love, age shouldn't matter, as long as you can show sufficient evidence that it's a real marriage. While it may raise questions, as long as you can back it up and show that this love, this is real, you want to build your life with this person, then age will not be a factor. It would not be the basis of a denial. What will be the basis of a denial is if the officer suspects that it's not a real marriage, and you haven't convinced them, you haven't provided sufficient evidence to show otherwise. The person I'm married to is a green card holder. Can I marry her in the US? So you can get married, Amit. You would be able to get married anywhere that you want to. The question is, where are you going to apply and what process do you need to go through? Because if you have a green card holder spouse, you don't want to be overstaying, because that's going to overstay your visa. That's going to complicate your process. Now, also if you want specific legal advice, definitely schedule a consultation. So no, I am not divorced. We are communicating for a few months. My petition is placed on hold. Okay, so start over 4. That's where you should definitely get legal advice to protect your interests, to see what your options are. Is your spouse willing to continue the process with you? What's the situation in your marriage? And so if you would like to figure out how to approach it, make sure that you get legal advice. I renewed my 1-year work permit, then renewed and received a 2-year, but my vow is still pending. Okay, Shanoya, thanks for raising that. So yes, they are now issuing 2-year work permits. And the reason being, unfortunately, is that because processes are backlogged and they're taking much longer, they have issued 2-year green cards, so you don't have to deal with the stress of renewing it every year. Because what's happening is when people have their work permit for 1 year and then they renew it, they have to renew it the next year, and then it takes 6 to 8 months for it to come back. They could very well lose their permission to work, their authorization to work. And so now they have extended it to 2 years. So there's an upside to this and a downside to this. But the good news is they are now issuing 2-year green cards. So no, it's so how can I help my family in Jamaica? Mike, I'm not sure if that's immigration related. So if you have family and you want to help them by helping them to come to the United States, it depends on your relationship with them and whether you qualify to apply for them. If someone comes on a fiancé visa and it ended, but a parent is a citizen, can they file? So yes, they would be able to file for, if the parent is no, keep in mind, if they're over 21, it's going to be a sticky situation. And so the process is going to be more complex. The U.S. citizen parent can apply, but you would still have to go through consular processing if you fall out of status of the fiancé visa. And that's going to involve a waiver. That waiver is basically saying that you're asking for forgiveness for overstaying, and that once it's approved, it allows you to go to your home country for the final interview. If someone comes, so I did answer that. Hi there, King and Baby Doll. It's nice to see you. Thanks for saying hi. Start over 4. You are welcome. How can get someone from Jamaica to the United States? So you would have to qualify. So they'd have to qualify through a family member, through an employer, through the diversity lottery, for example, to come to the United States on an immigrant visa. Now, if you're talking about a visitor's visa, for example, that person would have to apply at the embassy in their home country and bring specific evidence to show that they qualify. And usually the officer just wants to be convinced that based on the evidence you provide, you will not overstay in the United States. You will not stay and fail to go back to your home country. Can I stay in the U.S. after marriage while I apply for adjustment of status or green card status? So if you married a green card holder, it is not advisable that you stay in the United States and overstay your visa, because your situation is going to get a lot more complex. You'll get to a point of no return where if you overstay over 180 days, you will not be approved. You would not qualify for adjustment of status. And if you leave the country at that point, you'll face a 3-year bar. And if you overstay over a year, that's going to turn into a 10-year bar. That means no visa, no green card, no coming back to the United States. So very important you get legal advice, Amit, before starting your process so you don't make any devastating mistakes. My husband is Korean. We have applied. He is stateside, but he insisted on staying with family. Okay, so if he is staying with family, so I'm not sure where he is. So you said he's stateside, so I'm not sure where he is. But if he's staying with family and you guys aren't living together, he wants to wait to live together before the interview. Bad idea. Because if he's in the United States and he is not living with you, the officer will definitely place more scrutiny on your marriage and the situation, and could very well deny you based on lack of bona fides, because it just looks a little fishy that you're applying for a green card as a married couple and you're not living together. I understand there may be he does have his reasons, and if that is the case and he insists on that, you would need to make sure you make that clear in the interview. But definitely get legal advice, and let's look at you would have to look at the full your whole situation to determine whether that could be devastating to your case, especially at the interview. Do you only represent people in your state? So as an immigration attorney, I represent people all over the United States and the world, so not just my state. How long does it take to get an appointment for a fiancé visa? So you're looking at about 12 to 18 months right now. Okay, so it means family permit to the UK. How will it take to get? So I am not a UK immigration attorney. I am a US immigration attorney. So I wouldn't be able to give you advice on any immigration to the UK. Shanoya, you're welcome. Hi, my father was petitioned my signing last he passed. How this transfer to mom? So Allah, it depends on where you were in the process, whether it was approved, and at that point there is something called humanitarian reinstatement that may work in this case. But you'll definitely need to get legal advice about how to approach your situation, whether you qualify for it. Call 561-405-4889, schedule a consultation, and we can talk more. So how long does it take for a green card holder parent to file for a son who's married? So green card holder parent can't file for married children. That's a definite no-no, but once you become a U.S. citizen, then they would be able to file for married children, and that's taking 12 years. When you get a waiver, what's that? So the waiver is basically forgiveness for overstaying over 180 days. If you don't get this waiver and you're in the United States and then you leave the United States, what's going to happen is you're going to have a 3-year bar at minimum. What that means is no green card, no visa, no coming back to the US for that period of time or more. So very important that you look into whether you qualify for this waiver. The waiver, in order to qualify for now there are different types of waivers depending on the type of immigration violation. If you're deported, you're trying to come back. If you're in the US, you're trying to fix your status. But what I can tell you is the one where you're in the United States without status and you still want to move forward with getting the green card, you will have to have a US citizen or green card holder spouse or parent who will experience extreme hardships if you don't get the green card. Now, this is a very involved process. You want to make sure that you get legal advice and legal assistance to put a good application together. So keep those questions coming. I am going down the line and I'm answering everybody's questions. So hang tight, everyone. How can my dad get a divorce from Jamaica? So that would be a family law question and probably going to be a divorce attorney in Jamaica. Is there any way I can stay in the US after I marry a green card holder? Amit, at this point, you need legal advice. He married someone in the USA, but she's lied about putting in his papers. So he married someone in the US. So if she lied about putting in his papers, you want to tell him to get legal advice, because if she's doing things like that, she's deceiving him. That's indicating that there's a larger problem going on with this. There may be some control issues, definitely some abuse. So have him schedule a consultation. You can give him my information. Call 561-405-4889. My number is all over my videos. Call, schedule a consultation, and then let's talk about what may be going on in this marriage and the situation, because there may be a way for him to apply for his own green card and work permit. So Allah, you're welcome. How do I get a hold of you? So Donovan, go to the link in my bio right now. It's going to take you to the website. You'll see the number. You'll get a contact form you can complete. There is a scheduling coordinator. It's available right now to take your call and schedule a consultation. Also, call 561-405-4889. My number is all over my videos. So follow me and you'll be able to get that info. I'm a permanent resident, already started my process for citizenship. I just got married. How long? So right now we're looking at a minimum of 6 months. So I'm looking at an average of 6 months for citizenship cases to go through. So Alicia, good evening. It's nice to see you and thanks for saying hi. Before I can file for my spouse. Amazing. I don't see the rest of your question. Please retype. How can we apply for I-130 with pending J1 2-year residency? So requirement. So in this case, you'd have to wait for the 2 years or apply for a waiver. Very important. Can't stress enough. Safia, it's important for you to get legal advice about this. There may be a waiver available for you, but you have to get legal advice because it's a little more complex and the approach may be different. How long it usually takes to get a green card after you file the paperwork? It really depends on how you qualify. If you are in the priority of the green card process, that can be as little as, it could be as little as 18 months, 9 months maybe, but the average is 18 months. Or it could be years and years. It just depends on who's applying for you and what your status is. My mom is a citizen. Can I overstay my visa? I'm 32. What can I do? So at this point, if you do overstay your visa, you're going to be in a lot of problems. So you're going to, your situation is going to be more complex. Now, when I do my videos, it is for individuals who are already at the point of no return. It's not saying that you can overstay. It's saying how to fix your status if you're already in a bad situation. So definitely would not recommend that you overstay with if you're over 21 and you have a U.S. citizen mother, because your process is going to get a lot more complex and you may not even qualify for the waiver, because the waiver depends on your mom's extreme hardship if you don't get the green card. So your mom has to show that she's dependent on you in some way. Can you get a copy of your letter that you get at the end of your interview if I misplaced it? So that may be possible. You may be able to request a copy of it. I just got married and I want to know how long before I can file for my spouse who is undocumented. Okay, so as long as you're a U.S. citizen, you can apply at any time. It's just very important, amazing, to prepare a good application with all the evidence, a complete application, because and to show evidence of the bona fide marriage. You want to make sure that your spouse also qualifies for adjustment of status. Usually a spouse of a U.S. citizen will qualify for adjustment of status if they came in with a visa. VAWA application, remarried, now they approved it. So now if you remarried during a VAWA application, that can actually disqualify you from getting the VAWA. So very important that you know that you cannot remarry until you get approved. Can a green card holder file for a spouse who overstayed F1 visa? Yes. No, so now keep in mind a green card holder can file for someone who overstayed the F1, but you're going to have to go through the waiver process and still complete the process in your home country. So you'd apply for a waiver, apply for forgiveness. Once the forgiveness, the waiver is granted, approved, then you can go to the interview and not face the consequences of the overstay. But you want to be careful about this. Get legal advice before you start the process, because sometimes it may make more sense, you know. It just depends, because you have to prove in that waiver, you have to prove that your spouse will experience extreme hardship if you don't get the green card. It's easier, definitely easier if your spouse is dependent on you, if you in some way, and if you, without you being there in the U.S. with them with the green card, if if they face severe consequences, that would definitely qualify you for the waiver. Let's see. I know someone who was calling for a second interview, but the husband don't want to do it. So blessed child Ali, they should definitely, if the husband is sabotaging them, the husband is mistreating them, they need to evaluate whether they can apply for it on their own. Before going into the interview, they need to get advice about their options. They can call, schedule a consultation. I can evaluate whether they qualify for the option to apply on their own. If the husband is mistreating them at that point, then because there are situations where the spouse does that. They are in an abusive relationship, they're being mistreated by the spouse, and the spouse also sabotages their green card process because they don't want them to get the papers. So very important that they get legal advice before going into that interview with the spouse, and they should not be going to that interview alone. Safia, you're welcome. Do you deal with J1? So yes, that is also an aspect when it's associated with applying for the green card. So get legal advice and let's talk more. Dark Horse 45, so nice to see you, and thank you so much for joining in. Now the VAWA is approved after remarried, so what to do? So Sanusi, get legal advice. I don't know where you are in the process. You said approved, but you want to get legal advice, because remarrying can disqualify you from getting the VAWA green card. After the case is sent to National Visa Center, what happens? The National Visa Center will get in touch, request specific documentation, and then once they're satisfied with all the documents they've requested, they're going to send it to the embassy and schedule the interview when it is time to schedule the interview. Now keep in mind, in some cases you have to wait for an immigrant visa number, and that can take years sometimes. It just depends on who's applying for you, what green card process you're going through. So Queen Carrie, a green card holder can file for a spouse who overstayed for the F1 visa, but they're going to likely have to go through a waiver process, which is more complex, and they won't be able to complete the green card process in the United States, seeing that they overstayed the visa. If a husband moved out while you're not home, can the husband file for spousal abuse? It depends. No, it's not just about moving out, but it's going to depend on the entire picture. What was happening in the marriage? Was there mistreatment going on throughout the entire marriage? So it depends. The Ghana embassy had interview F4, DQ January 20. When do you think DQ March 2020 will get? So I don't know. It depends on the embassy and what's going on. At what point where are they now in the process? So I wouldn't be able to tell you a timeline. Now keep in mind too that if you're current, then the next step would be the interview. But with a backlog and with different processing times at different embassies, I wouldn't be able to give you a timeline. You can try to contact them or go to the website, or the National Visa Center can give you an idea of the timeline. Can you get advance parole to travel with approved VAWA? So that, yes, so you a travel document in a VAWA application is a possibility, yeah. So these are all great questions. Thank you so much for your questions. I'm going to head out for the night, but I'm here every day. And so if you have questions, what you can do is follow me, and as soon as you see me go live, you can hop on and ask your questions right away. Now, keep in mind that if you want to schedule a consultation, call the number on the website. You can go to the link in my bio. It's going to take you to the website. You can fill out a contact form and call. There is a scheduling coordinator who is available up until 11 p.m. tonight to schedule your personal legal consultation, because all the information I gave you tonight is not personal legal advice, but general information. So you want to make sure you get protected and that you get legal advice based on your particular circumstance. Thanks for those of you who followed me, who shared the live. I will be back tomorrow. So go ahead, hop on with me as soon as you see me go live, and put your questions in right away so I may start answering. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.